So class, welcome to the lecture number 27 of the course HVAC and DC transmission system. So we started with the features of the converter transformer where I discussed one or two features. Now I will continue the other features of the converter transformer. Since in a converter transformer we see that if one pair of switches are conducting in a valve, then the other pair of switches they will face some reverse voltage. Okay, so sometimes that voltage may be reflected back to the converter transformer. So that is why we say that and the magnitude of the voltage, therefore the magnitude of the voltage at the converter transformer, it will be very high. So what happens, that is why we are saying that to withstand this high voltage, the windings of the transformer, they should be properly insulated. Okay, so next we are saying that due to the switching operation of the converters, okay, transients and harmonics are generated due to the switching of the converters, and these harmonics of higher order, there are harmonics of lower order as well as harmonics of higher order. Okay, so we are saying that the leakage flux that is passing through the converter transformer, it is rich in harmonics. Okay, so if that it is rich in harmonics, means it will have multiples of fundamental frequency. Okay, so what will happen, it will increase the eddy current losses in the systems in the transformer, and which will give rise to hot spots in the transformer. So I am saying that eddy current losses, is directly proportional to frequency square, and hysteresis losses is proportional to frequency. I am saying this if this flux is rich in harmonic component, means apart from fundamental frequency, it contains this multiple of fundamentals. So we are saying it increases the eddy current losses. Okay, so if this eddy current loss will increase, it will give rise to some hot spots in the transformer tank, and it may damage the transformer as well. Okay, this was another feature of the converter transformer, means because of this high leakage flux, we say that we will discuss it further about the reactance. So here we say it is rich in harmonics. The leakage flux of a transformer, it is rich in harmonics, and it gives rise to eddy current losses and hot spots in the transformer. Now we are said for 6 pulse operation, simply YY transformer and one valve is used, or one converter is used for a 6 pulse operation. For a 12 pulse operation, we are using 2 converters. We are getting 6 pulses from this and 6 pulses from this one. So if this one is star connected, this transformer should be star delta connected. If this transformer is star delta connected, then it will give a 30-degree phase shift. Okay, if it will give a 30-degree phase shift, then these pulses will be the pulses from here it will be 30 degree apart from the pulses from this, and total we will get 12 pulses, 6 from this and 6 from this, and because of star delta connection, the pulses will shift by 30 degree. So a total there will be 12 pulses in one complete cycle of the AC. Therefore 12 pulses on DC side for one complete cycle of AC. So next we are saying if any fault occurs on the valve, across the valve. Suppose I am saying that any fault occurs across the valve. This is transformer, and we are assuming that a transformer has zero resistance. So that there will be no impedance will be offered to this fault current. Okay, the fault current will simply move from this to this place here. Okay, so what we want that this fault current, it should be restricted. Okay, we have the control action here which will come into pulses, and it will control the fault current, but it will take some time. It may take few cycles. So what happens, we are keeping the leakage reactance of this transformer very high. So what happens, if there is fault, this leakage reactance, it will offer some impedance to the fault current. So we can say that the magnitude of the fault current, it will be predominantly controlled by the leakage reactance, which we are intentionally keeping high. And because of these features, high leakage reactance, we say that the cost of the converter transformer will increase. However, in case of conventional transformer, our aim is to keep this leakage reactance minimum, because we know that P is equal to EV by X into sine of delta. So this is P max. So this is, I'm telling this is P max. So our aim is to minimize this X so that P max can increase. Okay. However, in this case, our aim is to increase X. Okay. We want to increase X because we want to limit the fault current. Okay, that is why I am writing here that in case of any fault on the valve, across the valve, the fault current is controlled, or magnitude of fault current is restricted by the transformer impedance. That is why leakage impedance of the converter transformer is kept higher than the conventional transformer. However, in conventional transformer, we want that the leakage impedance should be minimum, as it will restrict the power flow in the line. So in this case, we are saying we don't have any resistance. So in our transformer, only reactance is there. So we will increase the leakage reactance. Okay, we will keep the leakage reactance of this transformer high. Okay, as compared to the conventional transformer. So next we are saying that I already told you that this converter transformer, it is provided with online tap changing facility. Online tap changing means we are not isolating the load. We are keeping the load as it is, and we are changing the taps. Okay, we are changing the taps so that voltage control can be achieved through these taps also. Okay, so whenever these taps are changed, okay, there is sudden, means we are changing the number of turns suddenly. So what will happen? Then there are chances that there will be sparking in the system. Okay, the moment you will change the taps, at that point there will be sparking, because this sparking, it may damage the taps, means contacts of the online tap changing transformer. It may damage the contacts. Okay, so what we are doing, we are using a special mechanism for online tap changing. A special mechanism is used so that this sparking, it is avoided, and we are making sure that the change in the voltage while changing the taps, the change in the voltage, it is smooth, it is not abrupt. Otherwise, if the change in the voltage is abrupt, then lot of transients will be generated, so which we don't want. So we are designing it such a manner that while changing the taps, number one, the voltage is changed in a smooth manner, and the second, that there is no sparking in the system. Okay, so this is used for the protection of the transformer, means it will not, so that the contacts of the transformer will not get damaged. So because of these features, these special mechanism, the cost of the converter transformer will go up. That is why we are saying that these converter transformers, they are expensive as compared to the conventional transformer. Now one more point here, that these taps are frequently changed in HVDC system. Though we can change the pulses, we can control the voltage by changing the pulses here, but this OLTC, it is so much frequently used in HVDC system, that in case even if this system, it fails or it exhausts, means it is not responding immediately to changes, and we want this VDC to remain constant, we can achieve this by changing the OLTC as well. Even if this converter or valve will exhaust, still control can be achieved by changing this OLTC, taps of the OLTC. Okay, so that is what I am writing here. Taps are frequently changed in HVDC, that even if the converter fails, is not right, even if the converter exhausts to act instantaneously, still voltage control can be achieved by online tap changing. Okay, so these were all about the converter transformer. The next important component is the smoothing reactor. Smoothing reactor, here you can see I have converter, then I have a reactor, and then I have a line here. So this smoothing reactor, what is this? It will smoothen the DC current in the DC line. This is IDC. It will smoothen the DC current. It will remove the ripples. Okay, the first function. Secondly, I'm saying that suppose there is any short circuit in the line, there is fault on this line. So what will happen? Huge current will flow in the system if there is no reactor. So if I am using a reactor, what will reactor do? It will limit the rate of rise of the fault current. It will not limit the fault current. I am saying it will limit the rate of rise of fault current. Okay, for some time, for transient transient time only. Once steady state is achieved, this will act as a short circuit. Inductor will act as a short circuit, and whole current will flow through this. But during transient, it will limit the rise of fault current, limit the rate of rise of fault current until steady state is achieved. Once steady state is achieved, it will be short circuit. But by that time, during the transient time, by that time, this control comes into picture. Converter control and OLTC control. These two controls comes into picture. Okay. By that time, the transient will die. These two controls will come into picture. Initially, this will control. Then the control will be taken over by here, by this and this. Now, for these reactors, various type of reactors are used, but normally partial or total air cooled magnetically partial or total air cooled magnetically shielded reactors are used. Means, because this reactor is stores energy in the form of magnetic field, so it should be magnetically shielded. Okay, but if the magnitude of the fault current is very high, then we may need this type of this type of reactors. For a very high fault current, we need this type reactors. This type reactors for very high fault current. Okay, so that if the fault current is very high, then this air cooled reactor, it may get damaged. Okay, so for a very high fault current, we are using this type reactor. So another feature is that the saturation inductance of this reactor, it should not be very low. It should not be very low. What do you mean by saturation inductance? How saturation is achieved? So this is a saturation curve. I'm saying this is a saturation curve. So I'm saying that saturation inductance should not be too low. Means instead of moving like this, it should go like this. Just a minute. It should go like this. Okay. Here, sorry. It should go like this. I'm saying initially it was this. Actually, it is this. So I'm saying, but saturation inductance should not be too low. So I'm saying that it should go like this. Instead of this, it should go like this. Okay. Okay, next is the harmonic filter. So the next important component of HVDC system. So what is this? Firstly, smoothing reactor. It smoothens the DC current by removing the ripples. It will limit the rate of rise of fault current. Okay, magnetically or partial or total air cooled magnetically shielded reactors are used. And for higher magnitudes of fault current, this type reactors are used. Then the saturation inductance should not be too low. Okay, and this reactor, it will decay the rate of rise of current during the transients only. After transient, when steady state is achieved, it will be short circuit. It will act as a short circuit. But by that time, this converter valve control mechanism and this OLTC mechanism, it will come into picture. So the next important component of any HVDC system is the harmonic filter. So you know that the order of the characteristic harmonic generated are given by the formula NP plus minus 1, where n is an integer and p is the pulse number. So for when I am saying when p is equal to 6 and n is equal to 1, what are the harmonics? That it will be 5th and 6th, 7th harmonics will be there. And for n equal to 2, p is equal to 6, 11th and 13th harmonic will be there. Okay, the higher I will go, the magnitude of the harmonic will reduce. So magnitudes of harmonic will reduce. So magnitude of harmonics of higher magnitude, they are problem, whereas harmonic of lower magnitude, they are not the problem, and they can be allowed to enter into the system. However, if you will try to remove all the harmonics, means 13th, after 13th we have suppose n is equal to 3, this is the 18 and 1 19, means we will have 17 and 19. Okay, so as the order of the harmonic will increase, magnitude will decrease, and the size of the filter will increase. Means size of the filter for 5th harmonic, it will be smaller than the size of the filter for 17th harmonic. So if the size will increase, the cost will naturally go up. So harmonics of lower magnitude, they are not important, and they can be allowed to enter the system. What filters are doing? Filters are providing low impedance path to the ground for the harmonic currents. So we have two types of filters, tuned filters and band pass filters. I will not talk about band pass filter because we are using tuned filters here. So what these tuned filters are doing, they are actually providing minimum impedance path to the harmonic for which it is designed. Means if it is designed for fifth harmonic, it will provide minimum impedance path for fifth harmonic only and not for these harmonics. And if it is designed for seventh harmonic, it will provide minimum impedance path to seventh harmonic, whereas it will not provide minimum impedance path to other harmonics. So at fundamental frequency, suppose 50 hertz or 60 hertz, these tuned filters, apart from removing the harmonics, they are also providing reactive power support to the converters. Okay. So at fundamental frequency, it means tuned filters are providing reactive power support to the converters. Now the filters, they are connected at the converter terminals because we don't want the harmonics to enter into our AC system. So that's why they are connected at the converter terminals. Means I'm saying this was AC bus and here I was having, then this was AC bus, here I was having converter transformer, then here converter, again converter transformer, then converter, then line, then again here converter, here two converters at this end. It was like this now. So this is AC bus, this is AC bus. So what I am doing, I am using one filter here and another filter here. Okay, so we don't want these harmonics to enter into on this side. It is not allowed to enter on this side. So it is used at this terminal and this terminals. So filters are connected at the converter terminals to make sure that the harmonics are not entering into the AC system, because if they will enter the harmonic into the AC system, they will create problem. So I'm saying that harmonics which have lower magnitude, so they will not provide and they will not create any problem in the system. So these lower magnitude harmonics, they need not be to be filtered out. Okay. So also the size of the filter will increase with the harmonic. So that is for fifth harmonic, the size of the filter is is smaller as compared to the size of the filter for 13th harmonic. Okay. So these were characteristic harmonic, but in the system we also have the harmonics because of the commutation overlap, which is called as the non-characteristic harmonic. Okay. So and these non-characteristic harmonic, the magnitude of these non-characteristic harmonic, they are very low. So it will not create a problem and they may be allowed to enter into the system. Okay. So magnitude of non-characteristic harmonic is low and may be allowed to enter into the system. So this was fourth page. No, page number 5. Now we have overhead lines. You know, we have three types of link: monopolar, bipolar, and homopolar. In monopolar, we are using one conductor and the second and return is through ground. But the use of ground is not permitted for longer time. It will cause certain problem, that it will lead to corrosion of the underground pipes which are buried inside the earth. It may cause interference with the communication lines. It may be harmful for the aquatic life if the return is through some water body. So it is not permitted. So that is why we are going for bipolar HVDC link, in which we use one pole of positive polarity and the return pole of negative polarity. Though the current in both the poles is same, equal, but one is positive and other is negative. So use of ground in bipolar link, though ground can be used as return conductor in bipolar link, but only in case of emergency. Means suppose our return, there is problem in our return conductor. In that case, we can remove the faulty circuit and we can use ground as the return path, and still half of the power can be supplied. So design of overhead line in case of a DC is almost same as that of an AC system, such as tower configuration, insulator, and distances which we are doing. So but in case of DC, we are also using bundled conductors like in case of AC, because it reduces the corona losses. And moreover, if we are saying that in case of AC, this is one conductor, this is return conductor, and we have two converters here and two converters here. Okay. So we are saying this is one conductor, this is another conductor. This conductor, it may be a bundled conductor. It may contain 2 or 4 conductors, subconductors. It can be a bundled conductor. For up to 100 kV, if the voltage, operating voltage is 100 kV, we can use a single conductor. But as the voltage increases, we have to go for the number of conductors, like we do in AC. For example, for a 765 kilovolt AC line, we are using 4 conductors. Means a 4 bundle conductor is used. One bundle of 4 conductors is used. However, for a 500 kV HVDC link, we are using 4 conductors. Means 4 conductors here and 4 conductors here. Okay. So this is all about the tower design. Next is the tower insulators. In case of this DC HVDC system, the size, number of insulators, and the clearances between the 2 conductors. Okay, clearances between the conductors, clearance between the conductor and ground, clearance between the conductor and tower. Okay, it depends upon the DC voltage, VDC. Okay, I have written it here. The clearance distance and the number of the insulators depend upon the DC voltage level. Depends on the DC voltage level. Now the choice of the conductor configuration, choice of the conductors, whether we are going for 2 conductors or 4 conductors, it depends upon corona and field effect consideration, because you know that in a current carrying conductor means there is a field around a current carrying conductor. Okay, so how many this field effect will be there. Okay, so how many conductors are to be used and which configuration is used, means horizontal, vertical, triangular, or square. It depends upon this field effect considerations. Okay. So the next important component of an HVDC system is the reactive power source. Though this reactive power converters, they do not consume reactive power, but still these reactive power, they are required at the converter terminals or terminal stations. So these are required because due to the phase displacement of current drawn by converter, when we are using the converter, there will be a phase displacement of current and voltage. Okay, in AC system. So reactive power, because of this phase displacement, when there is a phase displacement, means we need reactive power, because power factor will deteriorate. Okay, so when power factor will deteriorate, so we need some compensating devices there. So this reactive power compensation at the converter station is about reactive power requirement at the converter station. How much power is required, reactive power required? It is of the order of 50 to 60% of real power transfer. So if we are transferring 100 megawatt of power, we need 50 or 60 mega VAR of reactive power at the converter station. So this reactive power, it is supplied by filters, it is supplied by capacitors and synchronous condenser. Now this synchronous condenser, it can supply both reactive power and it can improve the voltage profile as well. So this was the reactive power source. Though keep in mind that these converters, they will not consume reactive power. These reactive power, they are required at the terminal stations only. Okay, and because of the phase displacement of the current, this reactive power is required. So the last part is the earth electrode. You know, the resistivity of the upper surface of earth, it is low, it is higher. So if the resistivity is high, conductivity will be low. Resistivity of the surface is around 4 kilo ohm meter. So if we are keeping the electrodes directly on the earth, so it will not means the current will not flow to the ground, because the resistivity is very high. So what we have to do, we have to dig deep to a point where the resistivity of the surface will be around 3 to 10 ohm meter. Only when the resistivity will be very low, that is around 3 to 10 ohm meter, there you can place the electrodes. Okay. And the resistivity should be around, I told you, 3 to 10 ohm meter. So it will reduce the over voltages during the line faults, and it will also give low DC electric potential and potential gradient at the surface of the earth, because the resistivity is very low. So normally this value of resistivity, that is 3 to 10 ohm meter, it is achieved when we dig when the electrodes are buried up to 500 meter deep inside the earth. 500 meter means half a kilometer. Okay. So at that time, also not only the resistivity of the earth, but resistance of the electrodes, it should be also low. The electrode resistance should be around 0.1 ohm. Okay, here I am saying on this page. The electrodes are buried up to the depth where resistivity is 3 to 10 ohm meter to reduce the transient over voltages during line faults, and also gives low DC electric potential and potential gradient at the surface of the earth. When resistivity is low, obviously the potential gradient will be low. So resistance of electrode should be 0.1 ohm and should be buried up to 500 meters into the earth. So now last point is the location of the electrodes is also important. Location of the electrode means I am saying that the location means these electrodes should not be buried at a place where it can interfere with the communication lines, or it can interfere with the railway signals, or it should not be buried at a place where there is human habitation. It should be buried away from the human habitation, away for safety purposes. So this was all about the components of the HVDC system. So how many components we discussed here? We discussed 7 components. The first was the converter or valves. The second was the converter transformer. The third was the smoothing reactor. Fourth was, what was the fourth one? Smoothing reactor. After smoothing reactor, we used smoothing reactor. Then harmonic filter was the fourth. Fifth was overhead lines. Sixth was reactive power source. And the seventh is the earth electrodes. So these 7 components, they are the, though we are using many more components, like we are using protection schemes, over voltage protection, over current protection, but these are the principal components of an HVDC system. Principal components means basic components. Okay, so this is all about lecture number 27th. Okay, thank you very much.